As Meng Qin flew around the outside of Xiu Xiu's dorm, her graceful movements caught Xuan Yu's eye. He watched her silently and felt a mix of admiration and envy. When she finally landed, he asked how Xiu Xiu was doing. She explained that the view was blocked by some shadows, which made it hard for her to see clearly. Xuan Yu suggested that Xiu Xiu might be all right, and proposed they check in on her later that night. However, Meng Qin was growing more uneasy. She questioned why Xuan Yu wasn't concerned about Xiu Xiu and urged him to show more worry. Xuan Yu calmly replied that such changes were normal during meditation and reminded her that she had asked him to stay away from Xiu Xiu. After glaring at him for a moment, she shook her head in frustration and called him foolish. She then turned away and left him, as he felt confused and uncertain. As the noon sun started to drop, Xuan Yu and Lei walked into the classroom. They were surprised by how crowded it was, and Lei couldn't help but ask why there were so many people. Among the crowd, Dean Luohong's voice cut through the noise as she explained that everyone was eagerly waiting for Xuan Yu and Lei to return. This excitement was because Feng recently revealed his second awakening, which caught the teacher's attention. Soon after, Xuan Yu and Feng were quickly taken to the dean's office, where a sense of anticipation filled the room. Qi asked Feng to show his martial soul. With a nod, he complied, and everyone immediately noticed his new third soul ring, which became a stunning 10,000-year-old one. Qi then asked him to demonstrate his power with a punch. Feng, with determination, stepped forward and threw a solid strike. Qi observed the impressive increase in his speed, a skill he had always been good at but now seemed to be twice as fast. The scales on his body also looked like they were made of refractive fibers, which made him almost invisible as he moved. Qi was impressed and praised his progress. Then Luo Hong asked Feng to explain the details of his second awakening and asked Xuan Yu to help fill in any gaps. The detailed accounts left everyone in awe, especially as it became clear that Xuan Yu's second awakening had triggered fangs. They realized that Lan Xuan Yu was an exceptional talent, almost like a national treasure. They then decided it was time for Lei's turn and instructed everyone to get ready for the simulation and prepare for the next phase. In the Duluo world, everyone gathered, excited and ready to see Xuan Yu's impressive abilities put to the test once again. Luo Hong reassured the both of them that if Lei's energy did explode, he would recover quickly, and they would deal with whatever came after. She encouraged Xuan Yu and Lei to push themselves without worry. Xuan Yu nodded and Lei responded with a firm okay. With a shared determination, Xuan Yu suggested they get started, and Lei eagerly agreed as he urged him to go ahead. Nearby, Ying Luohong, Zhang Chenyu, Xiao Qi, and Tang Zhenhua watched their students intently. Xuan Yu raised his hands, and energy surged from his palms and formed ropes of spiritual power that stretched towards Lei and wrapped around him. Luohong noticed the shift in the air and thought to herself that things were getting serious. Trapped in the magical ropes, Lei braced himself. He gritted his teeth and told Xuan Yu to give it his all. Xuan Yu, more focused than ever, called on his strength, and soon a whirlwind of pink and blue energy began to swirl around them. Lei struggled to keep it together as he felt his energy rising fast and warned that he was about to explode. His body glowed with a fiery yellow-orange light like embers on the edge of bursting into flames. From the sidelines, Luo Hong and Zhenhua glanced at them and felt the energy build up even more. But then, all of a sudden, the energy just disappeared. The strong powers faded away and the two boys stood there completely still. Xuan Yu was still holding the ropes tied around Lei, but the energy that had once flowed through them was gone, and only silence was left. They stood there unsure of what to do. Luo Hong finally lost her patience and demanded to know what was happening. Lei, who himself was confused, turned to Xuan Yu and asked if he had actually started. Xuan Yu, just as puzzled, replied that he had. He couldn't understand why Lei wasn't feeling anything. Lei confirmed that he hadn't felt anything at all. Xuan Yu frowned and his mind raced. He mumbled that something wasn't right and explained that this wasn't how things had worked before. The power of the blue-silver grass used to be so strong it could have made Lei explode. Lei tried to stay positive and suggested they try again. Xuan Yu agreed, gathered his strength again and told Lei to get ready. But once more nothing happened. The energy stayed dormant, and both of them stood there, confused and worried. Lei spoke up and said he couldn't understand why he still wasn't feeling anything. Xuan Yu, lost in thought, muttered to himself, which made Lei wonder if something was wrong with him. Finally, Xuan Yu spoke up and told Luo Hong that he had bought a gemstone at an auction the day before. Ever since he started wearing it while cultivating, his bloodline seemed to have changed. He wondered if that might be the reason. And after that, they kept experimenting throughout the night, testing again and again, but they kept coming to the same conclusion. Lan Xuan Yu's abilities had mysteriously vanished, and they all quietly accepted this strange reality. At the Interstellar Center, Xuan Yu looked for his teacher, Tang Zhenhua. When he found him, Zhenhua was looking at something with interest. Without even turning around, he started talking. He told Xuanyu that what had happened that day was actually a blessing in disguise. He explained that if they had confirmed his ability to trigger others' second awakenings, things would have taken a very different turn. Xuanyu would have been sent straight to the inner court, isolated for special training under the strictest supervision. He then shifted his focus to Xuanyu, and his tone became more serious. Once his ability was confirmed, the Federation would never have allowed such a power to fall into the wrong hands. They would have shielded him relentlessly and kept him safe at all costs, but at the price of something far more precious than any protection they could offer, his freedom. He warned him to lie low in the coming days, and urged him not to display his talents too openly. No matter how much progress he made, any significant changes he experienced must be reported directly to him first. Xuanyu nodded in understanding as the gravity of his teacher's words sank in. With a gentle smile, Manhua patted his head and told him to take good care of himself. Then his mood lightened, and he laughed and joked that maybe he should become a better teacher. He added that the day's lesson wasn't over yet because Xuanyu was about to be chased by him again, and this time it would be 50% harder. As the afternoon sun bathed the sky in a warm glow, Xuanyu found himself standing at the edge of something far more profound than he could have ever imagined. He saw power and cruelty come together into a harsh force, now showing their true faces to him. It had pierced his very soul, and left behind a shadow so deep and unshakable that it would haunt him for years to come. Lei slowly took off the blindfold that had covered his eyes, as Old Shu's gentle voice urged him to look around and take in the sights of Eternal Sky City. His eyes fell on a big, glowing magic circle etched into the ground and surrounded by a soft, light green glow that seemed full of life and energy. Old Shu's wrinkled face broke into a smile, as he called him cute in his own unique way. But then his tone grew serious as he mentioned that if the life ivy roots weren't so rare and valuable, he wouldn't have given up the little gorilla for anything. He explained that the little creature had an incredibly strong life force and warned him to take good care of it. Lei smiled back and promised that he would. Then he carefully stepped into the glowing circle and felt the energy buzzing under his feet. Old Shu told him it was time to start. He instructed Lei to sit right in the center and not move, no matter what happened. Lei nodded and settled into position. Old Shu reached into his pocket and pulled out the life ivy, which instantly burst into a bright green light. The glow grew into a bright explosion and gathered around the sleeping baby gorilla in a sparkling aura. Old Shu held his hand above the little creature, and a wave of energy surrounded him, which cast a soft, magical light. Luo Hong watched the scene and anxiously called out to him. As Old Shu directed the vibrant energy from his hand, he gently pressed his finger to the gorilla's forehead. This touch sparked another flash of light. When the light faded, Old Shu took a deep breath and said the ritual had worked. He then told Lei to bite his own finger and put the blood on the gorilla's forehead. Lei hesitated, as he felt worried about how much it would hurt. His reluctance made Luo Hong's frustration boil over, and she scolded him. She called him an idiot, and insisted that he follow what he was told. Lei felt overwhelmed and tearful, and reluctantly agreed to do so. Luo Hong realized that Old Shu's sacrifice of his own life essence would greatly boost the baby gorilla's strength, despite the personal pain it caused him. Lei bit his finger, and a drop of blood fell onto the gorilla's forehead. A strange energy surrounded the gorilla as Lei struggled to stay calm due to a sharp pain in his finger. He then opened his eyes and found himself staring directly at the gorilla. His body shook violently as powerful soul fluctuations surged through him, as if an invisible force was pushing his soul power to its limits. The gorilla jumped toward his chest, and a burst of golden light exploded from where they fused. Lei gritted his teeth as he felt overwhelmed by the rush of energy flowing into him. Luo Hong watched it closely, and turned to Old Shu and asked what they should do next. Old Shu calmly assured her there was no need to worry. He explained that since their lives were connected, any harm to Lei would also affect the gorilla, so they were both safe. A painful cry escaped Lei as a dark gold soul ring appeared around him. Luo Hong felt amazed as she noted the unusual color of the soul ring. She pointed out that while there have been various strange soul rings in history, this dark gold one was a first. She realized that a small bead of 10,000-year-old life essence from Old Shu triggered this rare event. With one eye barely open, Lei wondered about the little gorilla and excitedly announced that they fused, and he reached a breakthrough to 3 rings. At Ying Luo Hong's suggestion, he activated his third soul skill. The golden soul ring appeared, and the little gorilla emerged, now much larger and stronger. Lei saw the transformation and commented on how much the gorilla had grown. The gorilla jumped on him and showered him with affectionate kisses. He felt embarrassed and asked it to stop. Luo Hong suggested they go back and check for any more changes in his body, and he agreed. Suddenly, a flash of light shot from Lei's head, which caused Luo Hong to worry about the energy absorption. Old Shu explained that the life core was extremely powerful and recently revived, so it needed a lot of energy. He advised Lei to absorb more life energy, preferably through food, with water from the sea god lake being the best choice to keep the life core from draining all his vitality. The next day in the cafeteria, the gorilla was completely focused on its meal. As he gobbled down food and cleared plates with every bite, Lei sat at the same table and looked really downcast. Xuan Yu showed up and looked at the gorilla and asked if Lei was the one who had brought it back to life. Lei was overwhelmed with distress as he broke down in tears in front of Xuan Yu and claimed that he was doomed. Xuan Yu, puzzled by the situation, asked what could have been the matter. Amidst his sobs, Lei pointed to the gorilla and mocked it as fatty, and told Xuan Yu that it not only stole his third soul ring but also drained his energy and left it nearly worthless. Xuan Yu tried to comfort him and suggested that this creature might have been more than it seemed and could have become even stronger as it matured. Just then, a familiar voice called out Xuan Yu's name. He turned to see Meng Qin and Xiu Xiu approaching. Lei told him that he asked them to come and mentioned that Feng and Hui Hui would also join them soon. He hoped they could all work together to find a solution to his problem. As Xuan Yu and Xiu Xiu exchanged looks, he sensed there was something hidden in her eyes that had intrigued him. Xiu Xiu asked Xuan Yu to come with her, while Lei turned to Meng Qin and requested her help to figure out a way to resolve his problem. As Xuan Yu followed Xiu Xiu outside, he asked her what had been troubling her. Xiu Xiu, who was walking ahead of him, paused and turned to him with a curious look. She questioned whether his surname was really Lan, and wondered if both his parents also shared the same surname. She told him that she was also intrigued by how he could have sensed the crystal. Xuan Yu took a moment to process her questions, before admitting that he too found the crystal special. Xiu Xiu mentioned that at first she hadn't noticed anything special, but she realized something was different, especially with the changes happening in his body. As they walked, he explained that he got his surname from his father, while his mother's last name was Nan. He figured the crystal's connection to him likely had to do with his dragon bloodline, and the dragon's aura in his blood probably resonated with the crystal, which explained their link. He also mentioned that Feng had experimented with 2 types of blue-silver grass, which caused a second awakening of his martial soul and made him a lot stronger because of his White Dragon King bloodline. Xiu Xiu then told him that her own bloodline seemed to have awakened too. Xuan Yu was surprised and realized that this explained why she missed class the previous day, and now her strange questions made more sense.